not including your family, not including your work, not including the area you grew up in. Tell me a friend that you have outside of that, a friend you hang out with, a friend you share your life with almost on a daily, weekly basis. That's a question that I asked a good friend of mine a few days ago when he called me. He paused for a second and he says, outside of work, outside of family, outside of people I grew up with, I don't have any friends outside of that. Hmm. He's in his 50s. He doesn't have friends outside of work, family, and the community he grew up with. How is that possible? I asked him, does your ex-wife have any friends? With this, same parameters. He says no. They're either family, work related, or somebody she grew up with. I said, okay, what about your daughters? He said the same thing. Huh. And then I started thinking about other friends of mine that outside of work, family, community they grew up with, don't have any friends. And I don't mean virtual friends. We all have virtual friends up and down, up and down. And then I looked into it, and there's a crisis in America where a lot of adults do not have any friends. And the question I have is how is that possible? Why is that happening? And what do we do about that? Has the internet, has social media caused all this? Is it even an issue? Is it, you know, why is it a problem? It has been proven, scientifically proven, that socialization, friendships help you live longer and healthier lives. And so, my best friend and I had that conversation, and I called him the next day. I said, "Hey, did you think about what we discussed?" Obviously, I grew up with him. We grew up as we were kids, and we spent all junior high, high school together, and then we shared life together. So we're good friends. And I kind of knew that besides me, there was probably not much other friends out there outside of work. And he confirmed it. I says, "Hey, did you think about what I said?" And he says, "Yes." He goes that he's never made any friends because it's never been a goal of his. Which, if you know anything about me, I have a lot of friends, and I don't go out looking for friends as a goal. That's not how I approach it. It's a very natural thing. But I'm going to go a little bit further than not having friends outside of those parameters. Let's say within those parameters, and I've asked him and I've asked others, do you have any friends that are different skin color than you? Even within those parameters. And the answer was no. No black friends, no white friends, all Mexican friends. Okay, so why is that? And what's going on with that? And then I asked myself, okay, why am I? Why do I have a diverse array of friends? And because I grew up with these people that I'm talking about. And I think what made it different for me, and I'm not sure about that, but as soon as I came out of high school, I ran track in college. And when you're in college, there are very little Mexicans in track teams. And so I learned to fit in with people that don't look like me, talk like me, see the world like me. And then at some point, I just kind of became more comfortable in that space. And there's a point in my life where I made a decision where, like, I kind of want to marry outside of my race. And the reason for that was because I kind of wanted to have a partner where I could learn from. And I didn't want to marry someone that was like a replica of me, had the same upbringing as me, same everything as me. I just was not going to find that very enticing. I wanted someone that was completely opposite of me, teach me the world, show me the world. And that has happened. Like, a lot of my tendencies are the tendencies of a white man. Like, I'm playing cornhole. I'm playing, pickleball is not really a white man sport, but cornhole and frisbee, it's called can jam, and I'm going skiing and things like that. And so I've acclimated to that space, and that's my comfort level now. In fact, a few years ago, I'm not on Facebook. When I was on Facebook, there was a group that I was part of, and it was a Latino group, a Chicano group, and they were going to go for a hike. And you get to sign up, and I was like, I'll join this group for a hike. And I asked a question to the leader, and I said, hey, can I bring my wife? And they were like, was she Hispanic? And I was like, no, she's Caucasian. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's only for Hispanic people. And I said, oh, I'm out. Like, I don't kind of view life like that. I don't ever want to be like do something because it's only my people. I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm uncomfortable with that, and I bailed from that. And I don't ever want to be like that. I don't want to see life like that. And I'm gonna end it with this one story. I used to work for a very big company in San Antonio, Texas, which predominantly Chicanos, Hispanic, Latinos out there. And when I got to I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but when I got to this company, we got hired on a generic space, and then we got put into our departments. And so we met with the department managers, and they kind of decided who they were going to go with. And I had met with this one manager. He was a white man, and it just kind of seemed like a weird interaction. Like he was just kind of going through the motions. Anyways, he ended up picking a buddy of mine who's a white man, and didn't think much of it. And the way these departments work, you have your manager and then you have your team, and under him were like, 40 people under him. And the team that I was on, nothing suspicious. But one day, my buddy who went to that team, they had a softball game. And so I went to their softball game, and I noticed one thing about his team. They're all white people in San Antonio, Texas. Okay, not in Iowa. And I asked my buddy, like, hey, who put this team together? And he said, my manager. My buddy didn't see it. He didn't see what I saw. So the next day I went to our intranet, and I looked up the manager, and everybody under him was white. Wow. Okay. So are we only comfortable within a certain group of people? Is thinking like that healthy? So now we can't expand our friendships beyond, like, again, the parameters work, family, community. Um, but for some people, they're even limited to, if you don't have the same skin color as I do, even to that degree. So it's a skill that I try to teach my daughters, where anywhere you go, you can quickly make friends. I want you to have a personality that attracts people, and people invite you, and you become friends. And as I say that, as somebody just came into my house and went upstairs, and I don't think it was one of my daughters. And my daughters always have friends coming and going. And it used to be, females, and now they're males and females, and and they're all different looking, which is a beautiful thing. And one thing I did right with my daughters is that I'm teaching them to look beyond comfort levels. Don't look at skin color, don't look at gender. Friends are friends. Anyways, so do we have a crisis in this country? I think so. What it looks like. How many people do you know that don't have friends outside of a certain parameter? How many people do you know who don't have friends outside, their own people, like their own skin color? That's even scarier. So, anyways, just me here thinking out loud. Again, my friend and I were talking, and that came up. And I say that because I've had nephews and nieces that have gone off to work in other major cities, and they've struggled making friends in those cities because they're away from their family, they're away from their people. And the the amount of people that I know that have gone off to college, have gone off to work in other cities, and have gone back home is a pretty big number. In fact, three of my siblings went off to college, and they all came back to a small town where they felt comfortable. Tons, dozens and dozens of my friends have gone off to college, and then they went back home or stayed near home. Man, that comfort level, oof, that's tough. Get out of that comfort level, man. All right. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Thanks. Bye.